Hello everybody. It is Friday the 11th of October. I want to talk about energy weapons that are directed against us. And I'm not talking about energy weapons that are directed against our physical body, like microwaves apparently, that will create a burning sensation that will cause your physical body pain. I want to talk about the possibility of energy weapons that are directed against our energy body. That go deeper, so to speak. And actually quite possibly bypassing the flesh so that the flesh does not know. It can't, physically feel what is happening. Now, before I get there, I want to talk about consciousness very quickly. Or what is a high level of consciousness, or what is a low level of consciousness. Right now, people are going, oh, you are in gratitude, you are in compassion, you are on a high level of consciousness. If you are in anger, or in guilt, or in fear, you are on a low vibration, you are a low level of consciousness. And that is a completely wrong picture of what high and low level of consciousness is. It's got nothing to do with that. A high level of consciousness is a high level of knowledge of the Creator. That is what a high level of consciousness is. And then open your eyes to the truth. Everything is Creator. He is all. He is everything. Everything around you is Creator. Every level of consciousness existing in this world is Creator. The mineral, the vegetative, the animal, man. And the more you have a knowledge of that which is around you, the deeper your knowledge goes of another person, the more you connect to an animal or to a plant or to the earth itself, the more you know it. And that is actually feeling it, feeling connected. That is a high level of consciousness. That is a high level of consciousness. And the more you can exist in that, whilst receiving for yourself and being in balance with everything else, that also is a knowledge of the Creator. All shall live, all shall be sustained, all have the right to exist. So to live in a way where you can be in balance with that around you, that is a high level of consciousness. And in order to do that, you will need to have the knowledge of good and bad. Because if something is different from you, like an animal, like a plant, like another person, their needs are slightly different from yours. So you need to know how to give and to receive correctly without doing harm. And that, again, is a knowledge of good and bad. What is good for the other? What is bad for the other? What is good for you? What is bad for you? That is a high level of consciousness. And the lower, what you call the lower emotions, fear, anger, all these guilt, all these things tell you you're going the wrong way, there is something wrong, you're doing something wrong. And you need that knowledge. You absolutely need that knowledge. And in suppressing that knowledge, you are not creating a higher state of consciousness, because you are not receiving information about what it is you are and what it is you're in, you're cutting that information off, and that is not taking you to a higher state of knowing. You know less. You are in a lesser state of consciousness by suppressing these things. Right. But I want to come back to the energy weapons. I was thinking about that experiment that was going on. And really, what we're talking about here is a Hermetic principle, and that is the Hermetic principle of as within, so without, as without, so within. Yeah? The environment that we're in is sending signals to us, and according to that we know within. And what we know within should be a reflection of the truth, should be a reflection of reality. And if we say it is a Hermetic law, it is a principle, that is to say, somebody see that is how creation functions. This is how it functions within the Creator. Yeah? Then that is how it should be. We should know the truth of without, and then it should create a reaction within based on that, and that is being in the truth. And again, if you can do that, that's a high level of consciousness, being within the Hermetic laws. Right, so I wanted to talk about this experiment that was performed where, let's go back. So apparently there was a group of trained people that went into meditation in a city. Yeah? And they created within themselves, again, independent of anything else around them. You're there, you detach from everything around you, you go within yourself and you can create, completely independent. This feeling, this vibration of peace and of harmony. Yeah? So they created that energy within themselves, and that energy affected the entire city, and it could be measured. So that was a reality, an experienced reality, and therefore a truth. Experience, knowing is truth. So it affected the entire city. The crime rate went down for a while, as long as these people were meditating. And then whenever the crime rate, whenever they stopped meditation, the crime rate went up. And I've heard for a while it went above what it actually should be, and that to me makes sense, because it is like taking an air-filled balloon and pressing it underwater, which is not its natural state. And then when you take the force away, it will for a while flip above the water, which is also not its natural state, until it comes to rest on the water, which is its natural state. So that's what happened. And everybody going, oh, how great. They were on a higher level of consciousness, and they elevated everybody else. No, they didn't. No, they were not on a higher level of consciousness. They were completely detached from reality, just within themselves. And they exerted a force on to people of the city. Now, first thing I want to ask when I come to this experiment is, were the people of the city aware that they were made guinea pigs in an energetic experiment? Did they know that? Were they conscious of what was happening to them? Did this happen with their consent? Because I don't think it did. So what they did, those that meditated, is they exerted a force on others without their knowing, and quite possibly without their consent. That's an act of violence. what they did there was an act of violence. To exert a force against another person is an act of violence. Yeah, how beautiful. No, absolutely not. And it said, I say, it shifted the others out of the reality of their existence. Yeah? I'm sorry, they were in anger, there was violence. Yeah? They were in anger and stuff like that. If you are in an inner city and you're without, your environment is shit, yeah, then your anger is the truth. Yeah? And then what? We create a better world by just shifting our emotional knowing out of this reality that my environment is shit. I exert a force to shift you out of that knowledge. How beautiful? No, it's not. And it can be used. Folks, think about what you can do with that knowledge. Now, what's happening in this world is completely straightforward. It's not complicated. And it doesn't actually matter whether there are aliens out there that are involved in this or not, or if it's just, as I said before, our own homegrown psychopath. It doesn't matter. There is a group of beings, yeah, that want to create a world that will serve them. Yeah, and everything in this world should serve them. My will shall be done. Yeah, what I want, all the power and all the glory shall come to me. And then my will shall be done. Yeah, and I shall have the perfect life. And everything else in this world is there to serve me, to have that perfect life. That's what's happening. It's straightforward. It's really not complicated. So that is this world as it stands. Now, in order to achieve their wonderful utopia for the few, they will need our cooperation. Yeah, we will actually have to serve them. And most of us won't, because we, darlings, have eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. We know for ourselves what is good and bad. We have that knowledge, which is the knowledge that works against God, and God declares to be so sinful. It's not. So we have a knowledge that's working against them. Now again, how do we get our knowledge? And that is, again, straightforward. It's the five senses, what we can see in this world, what we can taste, what we can smell, it's input of information. And then there is our emotional knowing, our emotional reaction to that. And the two come together and they mix up, and again, you have only half of your emotional knowledge. You are not in the fullness of the information that you should receive. So they mix up, and that is what creates your perception of reality. And that is, again, it's the input from without, not just the five senses, but the emotional, the energetic input from without that creates the emotions. So what they're doing is they're trying to create, knowing this principle of within us, as without, so within. So first of all, they're trying to create a different without. They're trying to create an illusion. They're trying to tell you what this world is like, and don't go by your own knowing. And right now, they want us to do certain things, especially start wars, because they are completely and utterly gone. So they are creating the illusion of a world through newsreels, through propaganda, through, giving us information of what this world is really like. Yeah? And who are the bad guys that you must go up against. That takes an awful lot of effort. Yeah? I mean, you have to produce all these newsreels, you have to have a massive information network to tell us all these things. I mean, I would say they obviously use things like virtual reality pictures or maybe even holograms to create this image of the world that we are to believe in and that we then need to react to again. You know, we're thinking we're doing the right thing because we're thinking that is the truth, but that is a virtual reality that they have created. As I say, that takes an awful lot of effort. But it is really, see, we can think about all these things. It is when the emotions come in that we start to act. And that is what they want us to do. They want us to act. You not just sit there and think about it, but act. Do what they want us to do. As I said, and quite often our emotional response that drives us into action is based on the wrong perception of reality. So we're doing the wrong thing. But again, as I said, it is an awful lot of effort to create this illusion. So what if they could bypass this knowledge of without and directly whip us into an emotion that will drive us to act? And the other thing is that, as I said before, to my mind, we are like a box. As I said, both the rational, the head knowledge, and the emotional knowledge exist in that box. But the more you have of one, let's say the more you have of the rational knowledge, the more the emotional knowledge leaves the building, on the other side, leaves the box. So, and if you're the fullness of just head knowledge, you're a psychopath. The more the emotional knowledge fills the box, the more the rational mind leaves the building. And then you're becoming a mindless beast. Again, that is already being used in this world when emotions are being whipped up in crowds and until they just become a mindless mob. Yeah, that is just burning down shops and looting and I don't know what. Again, a lot of effort, a lot of organization, a lot of, having to bring the people into that state. It's a lot of effort. But what if you could directly create an emotional state? And that is actually exactly what the people did in that experiment. They exerted a force. Their energy exerted a force on the energy of the others and did override their own energies. That is an act of violence. That is an act of, we would say, spiritual violence. And so people say, oh, how beautiful, because they all went on to a higher level of consciousness. No, they didn't. A high level of consciousness is the knowledge of what is. That's a high level of consciousness. And they were driven out of that knowledge. Again, into an illusion, detached from reality. Yeah? And say, think about it. You can use that knowledge any which way. If you can create one emotion, you can create any emotion. We can all be driven into anger. Yeah? And as I said, once that emotion comes and fills the box, your other part will have left. And you will react. No longer according to your own knowledge. That's it. You're driven out of the knowledge of this world and you're driven out of your own knowledge. By force. So really, and if people really say this experiment was so great, Yeah? Because it elevated people into a higher state of emotional knowing, onto a higher state of, oh god, the word is gone again. Well, right, okay, emotional knowing. Yeah, and that is a higher state of consciousness. No, it's not. That is losing consciousness. You're becoming unconscious, and it's been done by force. So first of all, we need to know what a high level of consciousness actually is, because it's not what they're telling you it is. And we need to accept ourselves in our entirety. We need to accept that we have low level emotions simply because they bring us the information that something is wrong. It doesn't feel good. Of course it doesn't feel good if something is wrong. But if you suppress that emotion, you are shooting the messenger. It will not change reality. And as I said, you are less conscious of reality around it. As without, so within. As within, so without is no longer working. They are breaking a Hermetic principle, or they're finding a way around it. And if a Hermetic principle is a law of the creation, then they're breaking the laws of the Creator by doing that. And it's not good, and it's not beautiful, and it's not something we should be doing. And I don't care how good we make everybody else feel. If it's not based on reality, it's an illusion. Anyway, folks, here, I will leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.